Hey, what's up, everyone? It is Sunday night, which means it's time to wind down your weekend with Bat City Comic Professionals. As always, I'm Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about this week's indie and small press books, all the great releases that we had this week, and it is another wonderful week filled with books that I'm going to gush about for probably at least an hour. But we're going to do it all with a nice glass of wine, and or a bottle, I should say. We are going to be drinking tonight Intermingle, which is a California red wine. I love that it's called Intermingle because it's actually a red blend, and they specifically say that they're using Zinfandel and Merlot and Cab Sav all mixed together. So I'm super excited to see how that's going to taste. It's supposed to be like blackberries, raspberries. What did it say? Oh, it has vibrancies with mid notes, not mild, mid. I don't know what that means. Mid notes of red fruits that give it a full body. So it does mention tannins, and I usually like when they say that the tannins are firm or high or spicy because it usually means we're going to get a lot of that like peppery kick of a wine. So I'm going to give it a go and see what I think. Okay, I'm good. I was worried when I saw the Zinfandel and the red blend that it was going to be really sweet, because Zinfandels usually are either like, they're usually dry or they're usually really sweet. There's no in between, and I was worried that this was going to give that like sweet side to it, especially mixing it with all the other things, but this is actually really not as sweet as I thought.
It's got a lot going on.
It does have a lot going on. Like, it kind of is really light, like that first drink that you taste. I guess maybe that's what mid notes mean, because the first taste almost tastes like drinking water. Like, it's so light when you pull it, like when you suck it in through the glass, but then like as it gets into your like back of your throat, back of your mouth, you can kind of start to taste the flavors and those tannins. So maybe that's what mid notes mean, is that you don't taste it until like midway through the drink. I don't know. If you know what that term means, or if it's a typo, please tell me, because I'm really, really curious as to if that's really what it's supposed to be, or if that's just what I'm making it mean, being context clues wise. It is very smooth. It does say that it's smooth and fruity, and it's definitely a good intermingling, if you will, of those two tastes. I do love that, like, every wine is like, this tastes good with grilled meat or chicken, and it's like, sometimes they'll even say, like, or a nice fish, and I'm like, you're just covering all your bases at this point. You're just like, hey, this goes good with food. Well, I would hope so. Especially red wine, which is supposed to be one of those, like, dinner treats and stuff. But I'm going to share this video really fast, so that everybody can join us. We are talking comics. Talking comics. They're gonna like find a way to tell me that that's like somebody's jingle, and like I'm gonna lose my show or something. I'm gonna slide that over there so we can talk about all the things that have been going on. This has been a crazy busy week at Bat City. We, of course, have been having our partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, so we got to go into Boys and Girls Clubs this week and talk to them about reading comprehension and that compare and contrasting literature, and it was really cool because we got to read both Amazing Fantasy 15 and the 2021 Chris Eliopoulos Marvel Action origin retelling of Spider-Man's origin story, and so it was really cool to see kids compare, like, what the time period of 2021 versus 1962, and the way Peter Parker was portrayed, and just all those little things. So really great. We're excited about that. If you're a teacher and you're looking for a lesson like that you can use in your class, let us know. We would love to share that curriculum with you. We also got the awesome time to go to the Juneteenth reading conference put on by Recess Education, which was awesome and amazing. We got to see, and well, actually, we got to participate in creating our own like mini African drums, and then we got to have a professional drummer there on site teaching the kids how to play the drum. They all got a chance to take with his drum and then learn how to do some on their own drumming. And then we had the amazing Princess Shuri, or Queen Shuri, as I should say, reading some stories and hanging out with the kids that we got to talk to about what it means to be a hero in our community. And we made this awesome link filled with our chain filled with links of how each one of us is going to be a hero of our community. So it was really awesome. Thank you so much to Recess Educational Organization for bringing us out for that. It was wonderful. And then on Saturday, we were at the Braden River Library talking to their students about how to make comic books. It was a part of their anime con. We got to see some of their art teachers teach some really cool things, from figure drawing all the way to Sumi ink, which I was so amazed to see the kids actually got to use the traditional Japanese inks to paint their own pictures and create Japanese characters, which is incredible. I actually wish I would have sat in there and done that class too. But we got to create comics with them, and that was really fun to talk about writing comics with their teenage group. And then we had today, which was an absolutely amazing experience with the one and only Amy Reeder here in shop, signing Marvel Voices Pride 2023 edition. She did this cover, and it was awesome to talk to her. She has a reason for every single character that she stuck in, in this cover, which is so filled with a million characters, and it was fun to get to sit there and talk to her about each one and why she selected them. And we got to do a lot of talking about Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. We actually had the show on, so we all got to sit around and talk to each other about our favorite episodes and the things that were different between the comics and the show. And it was really cool to hear Amy's experiences about getting to talk about the show and everything as it was in development and beyond. And so we're so incredibly thankful for Amy for reaching out to us and coming out to the store. Thankful to Kate for joining her. And, of course, we're super thankful for Brandon from CGC for being here to witness the signing for everybody who wanted those CGC graded books. If you did not get to make it, we have signed copies of Marvel Voices Pride #1 from Amy, as well as a few of her Supergirl covers and a couple of Moon Girl trades or different things like that lying around. So if you didn't get to make it today, those will be available on Wednesday when the shop opens up. But again, just a shout out to everybody who did make it today. I loved seeing young and old alike come out and get excited about comics with her and with each other. So thank you to everyone that came. And speaking of being excited about comics, like I said, we've got a great week of comics. We're going to talk some small press and indie books. I'm going to take another drink before I get kicked off. Kick it off? I'm not getting kicked off, but might be.
Common enough songs.
I know. I'm making them up. They're my songs. I have the right to hum my own song that I just made up. We are going to kick it off with the Great British Bump Off, and this is issue 3 from Dark Horse Comics. If you are a fan of the Great British Bake Off, or, any baking show, even Nailed It, you're going to love this book. Actually, probably more so if you do love Nailed It. This is a classic, Agatha Christie murder mystery, but with the heart and hilarity of a baking show. And it's supposed to be essentially the Great British Bake Off. And a group of people have come together for their first challenge. They're all kind of getting to know each other on the show. And somebody is murdered, or at least poisoned. And they're going to cancel the show because it's too dangerous. And one of the girls is like, actually, I'm kind of an amateur detective. I've been piecing together things my whole life. I could totally solve this if you keep the show going. And so now, as we are entering this 3rd issue, she has been working so hard to figure out who the potential murderer is, and what is going on, and hijinks ensue. It's complete comedy. It's not like a deep, dark murder mystery at all. It is supposed to be funny, and it is. And yet, so charming and so adorable. And honestly, this needs to just be optioned immediately and turned into some kind of show because of the amount of people who do love those, who love true crime and murder mysteries and who love bake shows. You're going to blend those two together and you're going to create this perfect story for them. And this book it's nailing it so far. So, and yes, that was a baking show fun. Up next, we have Violet Descends, issue 2 from Blood Moon Comics. This is such a cool story. This is all about some siblings, and we'll put that in quotes because I don't really know how much they're actually really related, but they are the different angels that are in charge of different points in humanity. And Violet has always been in charge of the emotions of humans and kind of keeping them in control and also pushing them out of control when time needs to, and just having to experience all of them, like taking them in and pushing them out. And in issue 1, Violet decides she's done with it. She's over it. She's not going to do that anymore. And so she quits. Don't really know that you can quit being an archangel, but Violet does. And now the world is in complete and total disarray because there's nothing to control human emotions or provide emotions to the people who need them. And now all of the angels are dealing with different things. There's a lot of fallout that comes from humanity losing control of its emotions. And Violet's like, yeah, I don't want to go back, and I got to figure out how to, like, be disconnected from this human that I'm stuck to, this one human that can see me, and all this stuff that's going on. And so she seeks help from the devil. And, you know, if you're going to be an archangel who wants to drop your job, who would know more about it than Lucifer himself? And so we see Violet reaching out to any source that she can find to get away from the good and the bad of her previous job. And this book has been one of those stories that when I first saw it, the first issue, I was like, I don't know, I wonder where this one's going to go, if this is going to be one that like grips me the way I want it to, and it has continuously exceeded like some expectations that I had for it, and I'm so excited to see where it continues to go. And I love like the different gods or different angels and all the different powers they give. It really does feel like building a pantheon of Greek gods or mythological characters. So fantastic. Up next, Grit and Gears issue 2 from Blood Moon Comics. This is another one of those great Blood Moon stories. Again, if you're not buying Blood Moon Comics, you're missing a lot of really good books right now. And this is the story of our future, a steampunk past, I guess I should say, not our future, possibly our future, post-apocalyptic. It's very steampunk, so I'm not really sure on the time. But we have developed automatons to try to keep the peace, and we developed some really good ones, and then they created their own image, and they went bad, and now the original piece of the puzzle has come back to kind of try to save the humans, and he is like, I'm the only automaton that's still good, I've got to save the day. And as he tries to connect with his old partner, he finds out that she doesn't really necessarily want to go down that path again. And you know, we always know in these situations, you can't really stop it. Like, you can't really control whether or not you get drawn back into the fight. And it's such a cool, like I said, like post-apocalyptic steampunk kind of story. And you still have that, like, can robots attack humans? Can robots attack each other? Like, where are the robots going to fall for us? But now you've put it all in, like, the Old West setting, so it's such a interesting, cool concept. Immortal Sergeant, issue 6 from Image Comics. I don't know if we're gonna get this as, like, a trade break, like, because, you know, we're hitting 6 issues. I don't know if this will be a trade break. I don't know how far this, like, how much longer the series is gonna go. To me, it feels like it would be I thought it was going to be like an 8-issue series, and now it just kind of opened up that it could be even more. But this is the story of a dad and son, and the dad is the absolute worst person. He is one of those gruff detectives that's hit retirement, and everything he does is like just vile. He's all of the phobics and like racist and all of the different things, and his son absolutely hates him for everything that happened to him during his childhood and even into adulthood. And now they have returned home because not only is it the son's birthday, but it is the retirement for the father, and the father ends up kidnapping the son to take him on in one last investigation, one last attempt to try to solve a case that he was never able to solve about a young girl who was murdered. And they are working out all of their issues as they go along on this journey, or not. If you've ever been stuck in a car across country with a family member that you don't necessarily get along with, you know, as much as you want to work it out, sometimes that's just not physically possible. And so they are finding that they don't understand each other, so much so that this murder mystery may never get solved, just because the two of them may not be able to work together long enough to get it done. This is all of the trigger warnings for a terrible person, but yet also emotionally a great conversation for people who really do have that person in their lives that they're like, I don't know how to have a conversation with them anymore. We have nothing in common, and yet we're family, so we have to. One of my favorite books, the Eisner nominated for Best Limited Series, Animal Castle Volume 2, Issue 2 from Ablaze Comics. I had to make sure. I was like, are we only on Issue 2 of Volume 2? But we are. If you ever read Animal Farm as a kid in school or a college student, or, you know, as an adult who just wanted to learn about socio-political climate, this is your sequel. This is everything you need to know about what would happen after we took the pigs down. And this is a world where now the bulls and the dogs run the farm, but now they're in a castle as well. And one cat, she is the last remaining adult cat, and she has 3 kittens. She has decided that she has to fight back because they can't keep doing what they're doing. And in Volume 1, they learn the value of peaceful protest and how you can't necessarily fight violence with violence, because all you get at that point is more violence. And that's how we kind of end up in these situations where we're like, oh, I want a revolution, and things just get worse instead of better, because the strongest person will win. And now this volume, we are actually exploring, can a peaceful revolution actually exist, and can it work? But one of the things I love about it is she's actually learning too, can you lead a revolution to be the mother for the whole thing and not lose sight of your own children, who are the very reason that you're doing it for. And it's so many things in every issue that are just like, this is the ultimate moral conversation, this is the ultimate revolution, this is the most beautiful book, and it is highly deserving of this Eisner nomination, and definitely it is definitely my vote for this award. It's so good. And this is, like I said, it's issue 2 of volume 2. There is a beautiful hardcover of volume 1 if you're looking to get set up in it. But the art, the storytelling, the point of the story, like the message and the themes are so beautiful. I cannot recommend any book right now more than Animal Castle. It is so phenomenal. I don't even put it in the picks of the week anymore, because I'm just going to tell you that it's like the book that you should read all the time. Monarch, issue 5 from Image Comics. This is the story of a young boy and the connections he's made with kids in his community and their battle to stop an alien invasion, except for the fact that we learn very quickly that our young boy is actually on the side of the aliens naturally, and not on the side of the humans, or at least he's supposed to be. And so we are starting to see why exactly he's supposed to be connected to the aliens, but we are more importantly seeing how he's developed these relationships with the kids in his foster home that he has been raised with over time, and how he's going to always put his people first, and how he wants to celebrate them and protect them. And as the alien invasion continues to get worse and worse, we also remember that there's the only threat in the world isn't aliens, but a lot of times the very biggest threat is the people right outside our front door. And so this book has so many great themes. It's done by Rodney Barnes, who did Philadelphia, so you know that there's like a really cool way to tell a moral story hidden inside of like a classic sci-fi or horror style storytelling. So if you are looking for a really cool sci-fi book that just has these great kid protagonists but also speaks entirely to adults, check out Monarch. It's so good for that. Up next, we have Old Dog, issue 5 from Image Comics. This is the story of your typical, I used to be the greatest spy of all time, and I have all of the skills, and now I'm old, and I've been on desk duty, and they pulled me out of retirement to come back. I love this. This double page spread. Doesn't seem like one, but the color line is how you read this page, not the panel lines. So you actually do go fully across in the yellow and then fully across the orange, which I think is super cool. But in this story so far, we have had our main character has been pulled out of retirement, and he has been forced back into being in the field, which he, of course, loves. And his counterpart in the field actually is somebody who's very close to him, and over the course of the last few issues he's actually gone on some very serious missions, and in this particular one he is actually being interrogated, I guess I'll say, and they're trying to say that they're going to pull him back out of the field, and some things happen, and the world gets weird, and this book completely changed directions from everything it has been to something completely different, and that's all I'm going to tell you. So, it started as a spy book, now we're here, don't really know what to say, but I will probably not be able to show you any more Old Dog ever on the live stream until you all read it. So, catch up, because I need to be able to tell you what it's about. All right. Up next, from our Hellboy universe, we have Miss Truesdale and the Fall of Hyperborea, issue 2 from Dark Horse Comics. This is the story of a woman who has been around. She's talking, we're learning essentially of her past life, and she was telling us the story of it in the first issue, and now she has fainted, and we see her waking up back in that past life and kind of reliving those experiences, and the learning of the people that she intended to save and yet could not. And I love some of these really cool, crazy designs that we have. It's very, this one is Mike Mignola has like his actual name on that. I don't know that he does, how much of it he does, but this has been such a crazy, I'm actually going to check that really fast. He's doing the story, and art and stuff is being done by somebody else, but you can definitely see how he's impacting that a lot. But it's so cool to see what her backstory was, and to see this other world and just how this other life played out. And all of these creatures. And again, I always say this when I read these, is I have never read Hellboy in its entirety. I have read bits and pieces of different things, and I always read these like mini series because they're either 2 issues all the way up to like 6 issues, and that's so great because there's not really that much of an investment on my part. And I know it's so daunting to look at like, oh my god, there's so much Hellboy to go back to. So in the last few years, I've just been kind of reading all of these side quests, so to speak, of Hellboy, and I fall in love with every single character, like to the point where I feel like when I do actually get to go back to read all of Hellboy, I'm going to be like, I know everything about everybody in this universe, and I've never read this story before. But at the same time, as somebody who's never read Hellboy, all of these characters make 100% sense to me. I never feel lost and confused. They all have their own grounding and their own stories. And so you've built a great universe when you can pull characters out of it and tell separate stories, and they don't necessarily conflict with each other. So I love that. We've got Murder Inc. Jagger Rose issue 2 from Dark Horse Comics. And this is Brian Michael Bendis' return to his old worlds and universes at Dark Horse. So super cool. This is the story of Jagger Rose, who works for a group of people who are assassins. They're all, kind of like the mob families. They all exist to take out different things, but they all do it in the name of the Pope. And to the point where, like, she is actually at the Vatican having a conversation with the Pope. And the Pope is like, hey, we really appreciate all the great work that you do for us, but I just want you to remember that murder is not a thing that we agree with. And it doesn't matter if you're doing it in our name or somebody else's name. So we're going to have a conversation about that. We need to have some confession. We need to figure out, like, what your role is actually going to be. And Jagger Rose is kind of like, so, like, are you offering me a different job? And is that job also murdering, but now it's okay because it's, like, directly for you? And they're like, we're going to have a conversation. And so basically setting up the idea of Jagger Rose possibly being a double agent within both the families of the mob and with the Pope. And we as readers are leaving this issue still not really sure necessarily, like, what her plan is and where it's going. And so I love that because we're immediately getting these characters in these different roles, and as the universe fleshes out, I still honestly don't know who I can trust. So if you haven't ever read it, again, this is like Murder Inc. is another one of those where I don't really know if the characters, like what the characters may have existed like in Brian Michael Bendis' world before, and yet still able to jump in and really enjoy this and explore this new to me character world. All right, I'm going to take a drink of this Intermingle wine. We are winding down our weekend and enjoying this. Red wine, it's a blend, hence the Intermingle. It's Zinfandel, Merlot, and Cab Sav all coming together. But again, not sweet. Not too sweet. Honestly, the classiness of who I am as a person, I'm like, this is going to taste really good with pizza. So Matt is shaking his head. This is how I judge my wine, is like, how good with pizza would it taste? Like, they all taste good with the charcuterie board or the things that are listed on the back, but would this taste good with pizza? The answer is yes, and I'm probably going to have a pizza after this, just to celebrate the greatness of this wine with pizza. Next, we've got The Nasty, issue 3 from Vault, and their Nightfall imprint, which is why I wore my awesome Nightfall shirt. I love that this shirt has existed longer than, like, the Nightfall book has, which is super cool. But this is the story of a young kid who is obsessed with horror films, and he ends up developing an imaginary friend who he calls Thumper. Thumper is the kid, sorry. He gets a imaginary friend who is essentially Jason Voorhees from the Friday the 13th movies. And now, as they are in college and they're living their best life, their video store where they've always all hung out has now gotten hit with they're going to get closed down. Some corporate thing is going to move in, and their only way to save it is to raise a ton of money. And so they're like, oh, we're going to screen one of those horror movies where you think, oh, nobody's ever seen it, and they find one and they're like, oh, this is perfect. And of course, because it's a VHS, the VHS player immediately eats the entire tape. And so now they're like, hey, well, nobody's ever seen it before, so we can just develop our own. And since he has this imaginary friend that works like Jason Voorhees, he's like, I can come up with some ideas. I can put this together. And so now these guys are putting together this movie. And the really cool thing is suddenly everybody else can see this Jason Voorhees imaginary friend. And some really cool things can go down because of that. My favorite thing, honestly, about this issue is that, I'm going to go back to it really fast, is that we have this woman who is going around and trying to say that movies need to be banned, and literature and media of all kind needs to be banned, and that nobody should be allowed to show these things and do these things. And the characterization of her is quite hilarious. And now we know that those people are going to interact with our movie lovers at some point. So I cannot wait for the next issue to see how these people who are like, we are going to screen the worst movie of all time that's totally bad for everybody, say we're going to go against this person directly. So check it out if you haven't read The Nasty yet. It's hilarious, and yet also like one of those great like teen movies, like for people who love all those like Goonies and buddy like films of like that Breakfast Club, things like that. Even Empire Records. Honestly, it's Empire Records with a video store that's made for horror movies. So check it out. And let's keep the horror going for a minute. We've got Ghostlore issue 2 from Boom Studios. This is the story of a father and his family, and I mean father literally because he is a reverend for a church, and his daughter hates him, his son has become a mute, and him and his wife are kind of a little at odds on how to raise their children because of it. And in the very first issue, the whole family gets in a car accident, and some things happen, and that's Ghostlore. Cannot tell you anything else, nor can I show you anything else without spoiling the entire book, but we're only 2 issues in, so I know a lot of people are still picking up that issue 1, and I just want to, like, again say, the second the car accident happens in issue 1, the whole story changes what it's about. You're going to get a lot of your classic ghost story moments, and a lot of your classic horror movie moments. And issue 1 was so well done, and issue 2 opens up what that world is going to do and what it's going to be about. So grab issue 1 and read it. So again, I can tell you what the book's about. Up next, we have the Giant Kokju issue 3 from Image. This is the end of this series, and I'm going to show you this cover. And that's pretty much what I'm going to show you. This is about a giant kaiju monster that comes out of the ocean and goes to the town to have an experience. And the man who is basically your mech suit guy who has to go in and slay the beast again, I guess. It's done by, Scott Koblish and Jerry Duggan and all of that over-the-top craziness that they love to put into their books, in that sense of, like, the Despicable Deadpool and, like, the Scott McTaggart, and things like that. This is in that world. Not directly in those worlds, but in that vein of storytelling, and I literally can't show you anything inside this book on the internet. So if you're looking for a utterly off-the-wall kaiju story, check it out. So, and, like, even, like, the wrap-up, I was like, maybe I can show, like, the wrap-up, and it was, like, the wrap-up was, like, crazy. So,
it's pretty safe.
It is, unless you, like, scan over the words and people are able to read it, because, like, the what is happening and, like, why that fight is what's happening in that fight, I don't know which pages are fine, but, like, literally the fight is not punching. And so I don't want to risk somebody understanding you now understand probably somewhere where I'm going with that if you're watching at home. But again, very adult, very mature, but very hilarious if you are an adult who likes kaiju. It's actually kind of a hilarious story, but it is in no way, shape, or form family friendly. But they did announce at the end that they are like, hey, let's make an ongoing, like, they make a joke of like, hey, what do we do next? And they're like, how about an ongoing series at Image? So for a completely different, like, actually serious topic. So it sounds like we're going to get some kind of book from them coming out soon. That is not that. Which, again, check out if you like seriously off-the-wall, crazy kaiju stories. We've got some number 1s this week, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to start with a Death Drop Drag Assassin issue 1 from Scout Comics. And this is one of those where I was like, that is the most ridiculous title that I have imagined could be on a comic, and yet the most unsurprising title on a comic. And so I was like, obviously, what book am I going to read first this week? The one with the ridiculously crazy title. And I'm so glad this is the book that I read first this week, because this is the story of a drag queen who actually used to work as an assassin. He was like a PI, really, more than anything. He was kind of like a CIA agent, I guess. Probably more of a CIA agent. We don't know exactly, but he seems to have some agent experience, and then became a queen. And somebody has started targeting LGBTQ people in the community, and he's not okay with it. And they're like, hey, I know you're trying to be in hiding, and you, like, are not really wanting to do stuff, but we've noticed that you're also going out and doing stuff, and if you're not going to protect your own, like, what's the point? Like, risk it for the people that you love and the people that are seriously need somebody to stand up for them. And so we kind of get our own setup for a possible superhero who masquerades as a drag queen the rest of the time. So this, again, I was like, that is such a silly name. And yet I'm 100% in. And then I read it and I was like, I'm even more in than before. Such a great book. I can't wait to read issue 2. I love all the characters that we're starting to bring out in here, and I cannot wait to see where their stories go. So, okay, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't been on the internet for the last 2 weeks. Image has received the rights to 2 very major universes after a lot of contestation, like amongst fans, of where the rights to, I'm just going to say, should I just say it? Should I just say it? It's like everywhere now. Where the rights for Transformers and G.I. Joe were going to go. Image has finally announced that they have gone to them, and the launch of their Energon universe is right here with Void Rivals. And so Robert Kirkman, creator of Walking Dead and Invincible, is actually the one spearheading the crossover universe for Transformers and G.I. Joe at Image Skybound. Super cool to see Robert Kirkman taking that on. Who knows what's going to happen? I know that they just released a poster that we're going to get a Transformers book. We're going to get a Duke book. We're going to get a Cobra Commander book coming up this fall. I had a couple people come in and say, oh, I heard about this book too. So this has been everywhere on the internet this week, and this was the launch point. And what I love about Void Rivals right here is that if you didn't know that, you'd still get a really cool story about 2 people from warring planets who are battling each other in space, and in the process of trying to just fight each other, they end up knocking each ship, destroying a different part of each ship, and landing on the same random planet that's abandoned completely. And they're like, hey, look, if we could fight each other and both die, we could fight each other and one of us dies, and the other one lives until they die on this planet with no food, no water, no ship to get off. Or we could actually learn to overcome some differences enough to work together and try to get off this planet and figure out if that's a possibility. And so they begin working together to try to figure out if they can salvage one ship or both ships, and they discover some really cool things along the way. Second half of the book is definitely going to lead you more down into whatever it is that Kirkman is developing for this Energon universe. But if you haven't read it yet and you're a fan of either of those worlds, I highly recommend you pick it up, because this is going to be the key series that leads into what they're doing next. So for Transformers fans specifically, I think this is going to be a book that you're going to want to grab to get excited to see where it's going again. And I know a lot of people have been waiting for G.I. Joe to come back. I had so many people this week that are like, Transformers, like, at least we've had some stuff that's been kind of cool for Transformers, but we haven't had anything for G.I. Joe in a while. So I'm really excited that that's back. So, you know, we'll see where that's going. I'm curious to see how Kirkman develops a universe for that, because we've never seen Kirkman oversee necessarily a universe that was multiple books. You know, Walking Dead for the most part stayed within its own vein. He had a couple of those like random little side titles that were just really the same issues, but they kind of were like, oh, New World Order and things like that, but it was still like within line of the issues. And like Invincible has always stayed like in the Invincible world, so this is going to be kind of cool to see him overseeing essentially like a superhero level universe for a crossover event. So it's almost like working at like a big 2 book for him. All right. Up next, we have The Sickness, Chapter 1. This is from Uncivilized Books. This book has so much in it. It is the story of a sickness that we don't know what it is. I'm going to say that. This honestly seems like it could be somebody took a backup story out of Blue Book and expanded it into a whole entire world. But it starts with a young boy who everybody in his group kind of makes fun of him. And it's in the 40s. He's getting made fun of by his friends for not wanting to be a part of things and for all the things that he says he's seeing. And he keeps telling people that he sees faces and he sees like weird bumps. Like he won't look at anybody directly. And then it kind of fast forwards us away from him to a woman in the 1950s in another place. And she's sitting in a house and she's telling this detective all about essentially her sister and the life that, like, a woman who's like her sister, who she goes back and forth on. Like, it's like, oh, it's my sister. Oh, well, I've been to this house a lot. Oh, well, like and then they're like, oh, she's kind of the neighbor. And so it's kind of like this woman is really delusional about her connection to the person. But we find out that the woman who did live there is not this woman. And something crazy happened with that woman and her family, and it somehow connects us back to the person who is the kid in the story previously, and these stories are overlapping, and there's so much, and I don't want to tell you anything about like the sickness or what it causes these people to do, but overall we have this doctor who is trying to figure out like what happened to this young boy, a completely different boy, and what his mother was experiencing and what he's talking about, and like he's in the hospital trying to figure it out, and then the doctor is going around trying to solve this mystery. Honestly, I felt like I read like 3 books reading this. This was one of those where it's super dense and great storytelling. So you're like, wow, so much is happening. Did I just read a trade paperback essentially for this first issue? And if all of the issues are that deep and there's that much story to it, this is going to be a phenomenally great series. Honestly, if you're a fan of Junji Ito, this reads like an American version of something Junji Ito would put out. Like the way that they even draw the sickness stuff and the way that people react to it. The weird way that it's like, oh, everything's fine, and then it's like you turn the page and you're like, what is happening? The way the characters interact with each other. This is a person who has studied that classic horror manga that Junji Ito does and is like applying it to American comic books in the best way. So absolutely great crossover book for fans of manga into that deep comics. And honestly, a great crossover for people who are like, I really only like to read pre-code horror, because it is so wordy and there's so much to it, and there's not, at the same time, like at the end of this book, I'm like, nothing has technically really happened, but yet so much has happened. So it really has that pre-code feel with that, and it's all like completely crazy off the wall. So check it out. Queen of Swords, issue 1 from Vault Comics and the Barbaric. This is our first Barbaric spinoff, essentially. We've had, the 3, we usually get 3, I guess, and now up to 6 issues, I think it was 5 issues for the last Barbaric volume, but we've mostly gotten a 3-issue series with a little one-shot, and now we are spinning out of that to have the Queen of Swords, and we are following Sarah, who is a witch, and this is okay, who is a witch, and we had our necromancer Saren in the last couple of books, and this is somebody who, if you read the most recent Barbaric series, she kind of pulled out of the world that she was working in and teamed her up with Ka and our new barbarian who was recently in hell. And now these women have teamed up and they are on a mission to find a special orb that is going to change everything. It's going to help them kill the bad guys that we've been trying to take on for a long time. And I love it because, we had Owen and we had Saren who was been working with him. And now we get a team fully of women. And you get your witch, you get your assassin, you get your barbarian, you still get a talking weapon because the sword talks in the same way that Axe did, with a very similar curse. So you get such a good ragtag team of just the most capable, incredibly awesome women. And we talked about how in the last volume of Barbaric, we started to shift from that just making jokes and more to a serious title. And I think that even more so than the last volume of Barbaric, this one is just like completely and totally a great story about each of these characters. We've already seen great growth in this issue for each one of them, and yet a complete setup for all of them to actually experience so many different things and us to get so much more to our lore of the barbaric universe. This was such a fun read. So if you didn't check it out, check it out. Up next, Mothman, issue 1 from Opus Comics. And if you know the crazy urban legend of the Mothman and the Mothman prophecies, this is where we're going with this. This is that story. So obviously this takes place in West Virginia, and it's got a couple of characters who are in a long-term feud, like Hatfield McCoy's kind of feud between the two of them, two families, and both of them see what looks like a meteor crashing in the middle of the night, and they both go out there to see it. One of them loses their dog in the process, and one of them loses his brother in the process. And as they continue to investigate, they all kind of register that they saw a weird thing flying out. And what's really cool is we actually get to see the story from the POV at some points of the Mothman, who in this story is potentially an alien. And he's just kind of trying to get home. Now, I've never heard of the concept of the Mothman being alien before, but I have heard of like the possibility of him being from the future. But this is super cool because if you do have that urban legend and any knowledge of it, or even if you saw Mothman prophecies, anything like that, you kind of have like a little bit of an idea of what the Mothman has been known to be. And I'm really curious to see where this is going to go and how the story is going to play out, because I love urban legends and weird, crazy stories, and I just want to know if the Mothman is going to be good or bad. And that was a whole conversation in the store this week. We spent forever on Wednesday talking about it because there was a couple people who had never heard of Mothman, and one of our customers and I were like, oh man, Mothman, like this is so cool. And they were like, oh, is Mothman a good guy or a bad guy? And we were like, yes and no. And they were like, which one? And we were like, nobody knows. Like, some people think Mothman's good because he does, like, show up whenever there's going to be a major accident or, like, crazy disturbance. And, like, people get saved because Mothman was there. But, like, also, like, did Mothman cause those bad things? We don't know. Nobody knows. There's all kinds of, like, rumors and legend and lore around it. And so I'm curious to see how this plays out. Up next, we have Sins of the Salton Sea, Issue 1 from AWA. This is your next big action film from AWA. I think all of their books, we talk about this a lot, all of their books play out so much like movies, and movies that we may have seen or that we may have always wanted to see, and this is definitely a great example of that, because this is a brother who is completely out, doesn't want to be a part of crime anymore, and he's kind of drawn back into it for that one last job that his brother's like, hey, I want out too. I know you're out. If you come back for this, I'll be able to get enough money and I'll be able to get out. And he's like, dude, I'm not coming back. There's nothing you can say. And he's like, I need help. I want to be free too. And it's the easiest job ever. And you know, anytime they say this is the easiest job ever, that like everything possible is going to go wrong. And we immediately see that happening. I'm just going to show you like how like crazy it gets. It's like, hey, everybody is like, we didn't prepare for this. Everybody's getting shot in both directions. Who knows what's going on? I don't. Like, as like the brothers, they're like, oh, we don't really know what's going on. Things get violent. Things get crazy. And then, of course, there's some big twist. But one of the things that was really interesting is Ed Brisson did this letter at the back, who was like, hey, first of all, thank you for one of the people who actually reads the back stuff. But he was talking about, there was a documentary called Plagues and Pleasures of the Salton Sea. And he's been obsessed with that area ever since. But basically, the Salton Sea is California's largest lake. It was formed by accident when the Colorado River flooded an irrigation canal that was under construction in the early 1900s, flowing from there into the dry Salton Sink. And then in 1950s, resorts were built all around it, attracting tourists, which is so funny because in like at least one other book, I heard them say, like, oh, we just got back from the Salton Seas. And I was like, well, I had never even heard of this place until this week. And now, like, other books are talking about it.
There's a
movie.
Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah, they talked about that.
Salton Sea.
I know. Because
movie.
That's actually one of our customers asked me if this was based on the same thing. And I was like, I don't know, because I never saw it.
That's the movie. It's based on a place in California.
Yeah, well, so apparently it had huge contamination from nearby farms and the absence of an outlet, so the lake became a toxic cesspool, rendering it unsuitable for marine life and causing tourism to decline sharply in the 70s. And now it's just all ghost towns and some baked corpses of dead fish emitting putrid stench in the air and all these like weird, crazy art monuments. So I'd never seen that movie, never heard of this place. Now it's in like multiple comic books this week. But now I also have like this fascination because I love places that were like formed weirdly that then just completely disappeared. So I'm curious to see where that book goes for sure. Especially because that first issue, I was like, that was the whole thing. Like we've come full circle. Everything that would have normally been the comic book all happened in that first issue. So where are we going with this? I don't know. We've got 4 more issues figured out. Up next, we have Haunt You to the End #1 from Image and their Topcow line. This is a story of the future where we have destroyed the environment, and now places are starting to disappear. And the next place on the list to disappear is the Pacific Rim. And there is a man, one of those rich people who is like, I have everything that I want. He has a fascination with ghosts and haunted places. And he's like, when I was young, places and the world was still normal, we had a lot of haunted houses, we had a lot of crazy things, and this world now we don't necessarily have those. And there's one place, this island, that still has the most haunted houses in the haunted places in the world, and it's going to disappear in like a matter of 2 weeks. Like in a week from now, it's going to be gone. It'll be underwater. We have this short window to go there and prove that ghosts exist, essentially. And he hires a reporter who is like, you hate everything I do. Everything I've ever written about you, you think is complete and total crap. Why would you hire me? And he's like, because you hate me and you're also a skeptic. So if I can convince you that ghosts are real and there is an afterlife, then everybody will believe me. And so he hires a crew and they start their journey to this island. And immediately we see that this island has thoughts of its own. As they get near, things start to change very rapidly. And there's a lot of really creepy things that are going to start happening the second they get there. And I'm super excited.
Looks like Sarasota's own Andrea Moody on art.
It is Andrea Moody on art for this book. He was also on the cover of that Mothman book. So this has been, and I think he actually did the art on Mothman, but he didn't color it. If I recall, yes, Andrea did pencils on Mothman. So he actually had 2 books out this week. Andrea Moody in Sarasota, bringing out both of these books this week, which is super cool. No, not Jonathan. Tim Hedrick. Not Jonathan. I know. I was really excited. I thought Jonathan and Andrea had teamed up for a book, and it was going to be... We would have had that conversation already. But yeah, if you're a Sarasota local and you want to support a great artist who lives in our community, Andrea has 2 books on the shelf this week. And if you know Bunny Mask, you definitely know Andrea's work, and you should honestly Haunt You to the End is going to be your next like crazy horror book that you want to check out. You've Been Canceled, #1 from Mad Cave. This is the story of people who basically work as bounty hunters for people who the internet cancels. And it specifically follows one guy who's like, oh, it's my job to take you out. Like, if you get canceled on the internet, I'm going to come for you. And he's, again, that old guy who's been at this for a long time. And he's like, I don't make the rules, I just enforce them kind of guy. And he's got all of the tools to take everybody else out. He never waits. He always makes sure he gets his man. And he is going after some people in this book that are some big wigs. And you know what? When you're constantly a person who's hunting after people, people start to look into your own life. And he is not a good person. It took me a very long time to find the next page because there's a lot of things he does that I cannot show you on this live stream. And people start to find that out about him, and now there might be a target on his head after the end of this first issue. And so can he stand up to people? Do we want him to? This is one of those books, kind of like The Scumbag, where your hero is kind of vile and you're like, I don't really know if I care if you are, like, if you make it out of here alive, but I'm also here for the story to see whether or not you have a redemption arc or whether or not you get what's coming to you. Like, either way, I'm kind of in for the story, because either way I want to know, like, if you do recover and you do become a better person, I would love to see that level of redemption. But if you don't and you get what's coming to you, I want to see that too. So I love when we get these characters who aren't great people that we can immediately start to evaluate as the situation goes. Up next, we have Omega Gang, issue 1 from Scout Comics. This is a story of a group of kids, teenagers, who are just looking for a way to hang out at the end of the summer kind of situation. They're like, hey, let's like get drunk and do stupid things because we're teenagers and we need something to do. And as they're hanging out together one afternoon, they come across, like, something lands crazily, and they find these 4 little eggs. And these eggs land, and they're like, what are these things? Should we do something about it? Should we take them home? And of course, some of them are like, no, we should leave them. And others are like, we should take them. So the kids take the eggs home, and they each raise their eggs and waiting for them to hatch and to see what comes with those eggs and where they could possibly go from there. And we kind of see their summer and the build up towards it in this issue, and then we get some really cool moments as the latter half of the issue happens to see what exactly the Omega Gang is going to be and how each one of them is going to fit into it. And if you are looking at the cover, you can have some ideas of this very almost Pokemon-esque wrap-up of this issue, but I'm super excited to see how these kids play it out. It kind of almost feels like British kids during, like, the punk era, but with some Pokemon. It's just super cool. Scout always has, like, the craziest, most off-the-wall titles that end up having, like, the most heartfelt experience in the end. And then up next, we are going to talk about a book that is one of those, might as well have been in the picks of the week, and it's going to lead us right into those. But this is Xeno, issue 1 from Oni Press. And I like that it has a Comics Code Authority sticker on the back that says definitely not for kids or cowards, because there's a lot in this book for sure. And it's like shock, terror, and fun. And it's actually an ad for the next book, but it totally fits with this one because this is an anthology of stories. And so if you're fans of something like Ice Cream Man or Creep Show or any of those recent anthologies, that even Nightfall Double Feature, that have a ton of creepy stories in them, this is a great one. The first story in here is called Hugh, and it is about a man who was born blind and has never been able to see, and he gets selected to be a part of a surgery, and the rules are he can never take the eyeballs that they give him out of his mind, like out of his face. He has to live with them no matter what happens. And as he opens his eyes for the first time, he is able to see creatures and monsters that are basically draining humanity of all of their essence. And nobody believes him, and he can't do anything about it because he can't get rid of his eyeballs. And things get dark and creepy from there. A great little short story, classic, like, Twilight Zone kind of episode where it's like, what if you got the one thing you ever wanted and that one thing led you to your own demise kind of situation. And then our second one is about a guy who is that nosy neighbor in a new group during, like, the time of the Cold War. And he's like, oh, these neighbors are definitely, like, they're gonna come for us. These are bad guys. Like, we can't trust them. I don't know them. And then he's like, oh no, you seem like fine, upstanding citizens. And as he starts to investigate and figure out whether or not they are good or bad, he learns just what they're up to. And once again, you put your nose into somebody else's business, doesn't ever work out the way you want it to. And he kind of gets that just desserts of his own. And then lastly, we get another story, which is about a guy who's like, oh, my job was to keep, like, these people wanted to keep, like, their kids from getting hurt, and so they created all these things to protect the children, and it backfires in 1,000 different ways. So we get these 3-gate horror stories that are all very much like those existential crises and senses of dread that we're used to from the Ice Cream Man kind of thing. Oh, and then there's the last one. I almost forgot. Oh my god, how could I almost forget? Because the last story is got the art of Nick Cagnetti on it, who did Pink Lemonade, which is one of my favorite books, if not my very favorite book of 2023. And this is the story of a kid who wants to be like the ultimate gamer, and he agrees to have them put this chip inside of his brain that will help him see the world as a video game and like basically have like the ultimate gaming experience. And like all of the other ones, it's like be careful what you wish for is the theme of this entire book, and it's so well done in every single story. So again, Ice Cream Man fans, this is your next anthology, except instead of each one giving you one story that has that conversation, we're going to get a theme that's going to go through all of the stories within the book, and you're getting great art. And such a wonderful addition from Oni Press. They're really, really stepping it up over and over again. I mean, this is a publisher that brought us Scott Pilgrim, so it's not like they were slacking in any way, shape, or form before. They also brought us Pink Lemonade, so let's be real. They're doing a great job. All right, we're going to go with some picks of the week. As always, Second Coming Trinity is out, and this is issue 3, yes, of this book, and it's from Ahoy Comics. I always love Second Coming. It's one of my favorite Mark Russell books, and I have all of the Mark Russell books as my favorite books, but this is definitely in those top for me. And this is the story of a superhero named Sunspot. I always get it wrong.
3 volumes in.
It's 3 volumes in, and I still always get it wrong because
Superman.
it's supposed to be Superman, but he's not Superman. But and I always get it. It's Sunstar, okay, because Sunspot is from another book, or is that from The Boys? I don't know. Anyway, I always get Sunspot and Sunstar confused. Sunstar is Jesus' roommate. And this has been Jesus coming back to Earth and kind of trying to figure out what's going on these days and how to reach people in our modern society. And every time I tell people about it, I'm like, it sounds sacrilegious, but Mark Russell is one of the most prolific writers of our time, and he's always thinking about it, and he talks about, like, oh, I was raised in the church, and I just had so many conflicting feelings about the messages I got, and I never really understood them, and they didn't really seem relevant to me, so I kind of want to explore all of those. And so we get such a great story, and in this particular issue, the reason it made it into picks of the week for me this week is because in the last issue, Jesus was supposed to be watching Sunstar and essentially Lois Lane's son, and he wasn't paying attention, and the kid fell out the window, and thankfully he can fly because he's Sunstar's kid. But, like, the police were called and all kinds of stuff happened, and so they kind of called Jesus into question, and he learns also, like, a little bit of, you know, I have to be more responsible, but also we see a little bit about Jesus when he was a kid and some of the mistakes he made when he got a little big-headed, which is a thing, like, we obviously don't have a lot of these kinds of moments in the stories of Jesus, but it was such an interesting thing because as it goes on, Jesus is sitting there and he's having a conversation in the past with Mary, and she's like, look, it's, you know, if you want to be a shepherd, don't turn everybody into sheep. Don't make them lose their own ability to think, but be a good shepherd and teach them the right way to think and teach them how to think for themselves and give them the tools that they need. And it was just such a cool conversation because it's such a great conversation about leadership in general. Like, so many times when we talk about leadership, it's like, oh, I have to get everybody to follow me and everybody needs to do exactly what I want them to. And, like, whatever I have to do, like, they need to fear me. Like, and he even says that. Well, they need to fear me because I'm this God. And she's like, no. Like, fear only goes so far. Like, now nobody wants to associate with you because they're so afraid of you. Like, love goes further, and education goes further, and compassion goes further, and all of these things that you can give to somebody that they can continue to share with other people beyond just you goes so much further than than just fear. And so it's such a great, like, every single issue is such a great moral lesson where I'm like, this is the thing that I needed to be, like, told today. This is the reminder I wanted, and it was done in such a great way, where you're also laughing the whole time, and you're also seeing really cool storytelling, and Mark Russell is just nailing it every single issue. And yes, we're 3 volumes in. There are trades for volume 1 and volume 2 already out, so if you've never read it, I highly recommend it. No matter what your religious beliefs are, I think that everybody can find a good moment for themselves in the Second Coming. Launching this week, a book that definitely took me by surprise. I was very excited, and yet at the same time didn't, because it is Doug Wagner, who did vinyl and plush and plastic, but this is Click Click Boom, issue 1 from Image Comics. And this story was so good. And again, it was one of those where I was like, the title sounds cool, so I'm going to push it to the top of my number ones list that I'm going to read. But I also just kind of, like, I don't remember what it, like, when it came in, I was like, I don't remember what this is about, but it sounds cool, and it's Doug Wagner, so it's going towards the top of my list. And this is the story of an assassin, essentially. It's a woman who is going around to different places and, like, banks and different things like that, and she's kind of taking a bunch of people out. Not everybody, but she's, like, obviously targeting people specifically. And we learn very quickly that she is mute, but the way she communicates with each of these people is that she leaves Polaroids behind. She takes Polaroid pictures of everything she does, but specifically she is leaving Polaroids of this one man behind. And she's leaving him at all the scenes. And at the same time, there is this girl who really wants to be an expert podcaster. She kind of wants to be a journalist. She's like, I'm going to be a podcaster, though. She wants to have that show that launches everything. And she's been investigating this murder on her own. And she's got this great plan for what she's going to do to kind of get the show off the road. And the two paths intersect. And it's super cool because now she's having this firsthand experience of seeing what this girl is doing and kind of trying to figure her out. And you kind of get this, like, Memento thing where we are piecing it all together from pictures because we can't, she's not able to speak, so she's not telling us anything. But we have this person who's trying to figure out. It's such a cool, beautiful story. Everything that Doug Wagner has done has always been one of those, like, the last couple years, like, with vinyl and plastic and plush, they've all been these stories that start out like just really cool and then become emotionally amazing. And this one already started out with so many emotions because we do get a little bit of the backstory behind the Polaroids that she's leaving behind. I just don't want to spoil anything connected to that with you because it's such a beautiful, amazing backstory. Highly recommend, if you didn't pick up Click Click Boom this week. And honestly, they should have started a Polaroid campaign where you took, like, a selfie or actually got a Polaroid camera and took a picture of yourself with it, because it would have been so great. And then lastly, in picks of the week, we have Something Epic issue 2 from Image Comics. This is one of those books where I'm already like, we should just go ahead and put all of the issues from now until forever into picks of the week, because it's such a beautifully done book. And if you didn't read issue 1, it features a young boy who gets some very bad news about his mother, who is a single mom who's been raising him. And at the same time, he kind of is telling us that that in our world, imaginary thoughts become real, but we can't see them. We never see them past the imaginary thought. But he can see the plane of imaginary worlds that everybody is creating. And so in this particular issue, we're kind of following up on that. And I love this because he's talking about how, the situation we're in is so dark and all of these dark entities are coming, but, like, his mom still sees these cute cartoon birds pop up around his mom, and he's like, Mom, like, the birds are singing for you. And she's like, yeah, they don't have words, sweetie. And he's like, yes, they do. But we get to see these really cool, like, different art styles blending together as he's telling us about what it's like to bring those things to life. And the conversation about imagination and in this particular one, storytelling and writing and reading, like there are facts that they list in this book that I'm like, we need to use that exact quote for our nonprofit organization, because he does a whole conversation in here about you might think words are a primary form of communication. Far from it. 93% of the human language is visual. We think in pictures first. Our brain processes visual information much faster than words, 60,000 times faster, in fact. Vocabulary is ill-equipped to adequately describe our life experience. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but even this underplays the power and reality of an image. Words and language stop at the period or at the end of a sentence. And it's so masterfully written, and then you get these like crazy moments where he's like walking down the street and a shonen manga character meets with a superhero and they conflict in the middle of the street, and he's like, this is kind of annoying, I just want to walk down the street. Very much Last Action Hero done in comic book format and giving us this beautiful story of I don't want to lose my parents and I'm willing to do anything to save them, but the imagination can only do so many things. And I already know that no matter where this story goes, I am going to bawl like a freaking baby when we get to the end of it, because every issue I'm already like holding it back, and there's no way that this does not end in tears. But it is so well done. The art is incredible. The fact that like we have one artist, like it is the one writer, one artist, like he's doing everything. He has a translation assistant and a letterer. And other than that, like is one creator doing all of it. And the fact that one person is creating all of these different art styles and telling us this beautiful story is just absolutely phenomenal. If you have not picked up issue 1 of Something Epic, I mean, there's also really cool movie parody covers because it is so Last Action Hero. I'm going to tell you right now to keep an eye out because issue 3 does have a Star Wars episode 4 homage, and that's going to be a big one. There was a Back to the Future homage on this one. The second print was issue 1 was a Terminator homage. So there's some really crazy cool covers, but this book is so beautifully done. It's so well put together. It is beyond incredibly written. If you're not reading this book, we're 2 issues in. Grab both issues and reserve yourself like an hour and a half to sit down and actually pour through not only the great art, but like the prose moments. Like I read this out loud today because I didn't want to miss it at all. And I was like, I'm going to read it and then I'm going to read it again out loud so I can make sure that whatever is happening in the story, that I get all of the details and they soak in multiple ways. And I'm so glad I did. And honestly and truthfully, like this is one of those books that when we get to the end, I already can tell you I'm gonna go back. Like I'm gonna buy a trade and I'm gonna go back and read the whole thing in trade paperback format again, because it's gonna be one of those where I want to keep going back and reading it. Even though, again, it's going to break my heart. I know you're going to break my heart, but I'm okay with it because you're doing it in a beautiful way. All right, there's a lot of other books in stock this week. Here they are. We have the new launch of Black Panther, issue 1, with this awesomely cool Garson cover. We've got Spider-Man India launching in his first solo series, which is super cool. And I love this. I love this window shades blind. Super awesome. We've got Batman Incorporated issue 9. We've got Cosmic Ghost Rider issue 4. This is the Stephanie Phillips run on that. We've got Captain America Cold War. We are launching a new, we're going to hit one of those milestone moments for Captain America soon. So this is kind of wrapping up where we are and moving towards that. Speaking of milestone moments, Captain Marvel has hit issue 50 for this current run, which is super exciting. Way to go, Carol. Don't spoil anything from trailers for Captain Marvel coming up. Multiversity, Harley screws up the DCU, issue 4. This is one of those great, amazing, fun Harley Quinn stories. Planet of the Apes, issue 3, as a part of that relaunch, with your 20th century logo on it to lead to some 20th century crossovers, hopefully. Liquid Kill, issue 5 from Whatnot Publishing. It is really cool. definitely feels like a video game inside of it. And speaking of video games, Dead by Daylight has a new comic. This is issue 1. This is a Press Shann cover, and it does come with a video game code. So I actually didn't open it and read it, even though I really, really wanted to, because I wanted you to know that your code was still intact and safe. So if you have been playing Dead by Daylight, or if you're looking forward to playing Dead by Daylight, this is a tie-in comic, their first foray into comics. My Little Pony's Best of Rainbow Dash is out. I love that we're getting the best ofs for My Little Pony, and this is going to give us 4 great Rainbow Dash stories. Gunslinger Spawn, issue 21, which is a really cool cover for that. Amazing Spider-Man hit issue 27. Superman Lost issue 4 out this week. This is a 10-part miniseries for Superman, going on separate from the Dawn of DC stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 140, and this really cool homage cover. Venom Lethal Protector issue 4. Speaking of cool covers and colors, X-23 Deadly Regenesis issue 4. X-Men Red issue 12 out this week. Put that the other way. We're getting closer and closer to that Hellfire Gala. Spirit World issue 2 out this week from DC with that cool Pride cover. Rogan Gambit issue 4. Green Lantern issue 2. As a part of the Dawn of DC. Son of Origins of Marvel Comics. This has, I'm going to take it out and tell you because this has all of your classics. It has Incredible Hulk #1 from 1962. It's got, I'm going to make sure this is actually right. Journey into Mystery 83. It's got Tales of Suspense 39. It's got Strange Tales numbers 110 through 111, and Daredevil #1. So, yeah, I guess I could have just looked at the pictures because it actually shows you in picture form. So that's first Doctor Strange, first Daredevil, first Hulk, first Iron Man, and what did I miss? I just skipped one.
Daredevil, Doctor Strange,
Hulk,
Iron Man,
Thor. I missed Thor. So, yeah. Huge. And it's only $7.99, and you get all of those first books in there. So if you are looking to own those books that you will never be able to afford, all of those at one time, that's a great way to do it. Nightmare Country, The Glass House, issue 3, and I believe this is still James Tynion, yeah. And is it still Lissandro? Yep, still Lissandro. So if you're a Redneck fan, Lissandro is on the art for that. Carnage, issue 14. Shadow Clone Spider-Gwen, issue 4, and we get the Rhino. I love that the first Spider-Gwen series had her all as all the heroes, and now we're getting to see Spider-Gwen as all the villains. And then lastly, we have Something is Killing the Children, Pen and Ink. This is issue 1. We are redoing the Something is Killing the Children series in pen and ink. So if you wanted to know what it would look like in black and white, this is your chance to do that. And speaking of Something is Killing the Children, volume 6 is now in stock. This is issues 26 through 30 in stock as a trade. I'm super excited for people to keep catching up with Something is Killing the Children. We also have the new Brubaker Phillips book, Night Fever. So if you are a fan of Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker's Pulp World, this is your next installment into that, and it's this nice, beautiful hardcover. And then, lastly, trade paperback-wise, we have Trident of Aurelia from BattleQuest Comics. This is the whole thing. This is a great young adult comic, honestly, about a young girl who is captured by her village, and they throw her into the sea as a way to sacrifice her to the Red Sea, and we find out that she is a long-lost mermaid princess, and she is the only one who can actually save the entire world with her mermaid powers. Super cool. I actually really like, oh my gosh, look at how bright that is. I really like all the bright colors in this book, and they are amazing. So if you haven't checked it out, you get some really cool mermaid stories, and we never get enough of those. And you get Battle Quest, which is also awesome. That's only their second book ever, and so far, 2 for 2, I would recommend Battle Quest Comics, and we've got a third one coming out. I believe next month is the launch of their next title, so I love to see it. That's the books we have for you this week. I'm going to once again remind you, we were checking out Intermingle Wine, which is a California red blend of Zinfandel, Merlot, and of course Cab Sav. Really not too sweet. I know the Zinfandel always leads to that, but it does not taste too sweet. Once again, we want to thank Recess Education for having us out for their Juneteenth event, the Braden River Library for having us out for their Anime Con, Amy Reeder for coming and joining us today for a great signing of Marvel Voices Pride #1 and Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur. Thank you for sharing that experience with us. And to all of you fathers out there today, happy Father's Day. We're so happy you shared your day with us, whether it was in store or online. We will see you on Wednesday for New Comic Book Day and Ice Cream Man Book Club, because it is $1 book club. This Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we will be reading Ice Cream Man #1. Come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have $1 issues here in the store if you need one. We will see you then. Have a wonderful night. Happy reading.